Welcome to Combat Zone 360, where we discuss everything military. Today on our show, we have Petty Officer Second Class Magri. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks. Well, what I like to do with all my guests is I really want our viewers to be able to connect with you on more of a personal level.
All right.
So if you could discuss about where you grew up, any sports you played in high school, any clubs that you were a part of, basically before you joined the military, how your life was.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Massapequa, Long Island. Went to St. Anthony's High School. I was an athlete, played lacrosse all 4 years there. And then I actually went on to play a little bit of college. And then I realized college really wasn't for me. That's kind of when I decided to come back. I moved back to Long Island. Started working with my dad in construction. And, my great-grandfather was in construction. My grandfather was in construction. My dad was in construction. And I kind of didn't want to fall into that, path. So that's when I decided to enlist in the military.
Okay, so you did a lot of sports in high school, mainly lacrosse. Mm-hmm. Okay, were you a part of any clubs, or did you do anything that really stood out besides lacrosse in high school?
Not really. I just did that, and then I was part of like a senior variety club where we would like host events and stuff like that for like the younger classmen. But other than that, I kind of just focused on sports and academics.
Try to make them feel a part of the family.
Yeah, huh? Absolutely.
All right, and when you ended up graduating high school, you went off to college. What college did you go to?
Cobleskill. It's just about 30 minutes south of Albany.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you played a little bit of lacrosse there. Yeah. How long did you do there?
I was there for a year and a half.
Okay, so what made you leave college and come back home?
I just realized it really wasn't for me. I wasn't as focused as I could have been on my academics. I was really just more focused on playing my sport. And I knew that I needed something to like kind of help me like work towards that next level where I needed something that was going to challenge me more than just academics.
Okay, so you needed that kind of structure in your life.
Exactly.
All right, so you came home, you started working with Dad in construction.
Yeah.
Is it a business that he owned, or was it just he helped you get a job in construction?
No, it's a business that he owned. Okay. It's one of those things that kind of got passed down. But once I started doing, I did that for roughly a year and a half. And the one thing about construction, you're either working and it's really hot, or you're working and it's really cold.
Or you're working and it's really wet.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, so I did that for a couple of years. And it was actually, we were going home from work one day, and we drove past the recruiting center. And my dad was telling me about when he was actually in the Army, and my grandfather was a pilot in the Navy. And we kind of talked about that. And then I was like, why don't we just like stop in, see what it's about. Went to the Navy office, talked to the recruiter for all of 15 minutes, and I kind of sold myself on it. How
does that happen? How do you sell yourself?
Yeah, kind of like I was kind of talking to her. I kind of knew that I was like, I need structure. I know that. I know it can help me definitely benefit if I ever decide to only use it as a stepping stone as opposed to make it a career. Mm-hmm. And then by the end of the conversation, I was like, when can I take a test or like try to join the military? And that was it.
So you didn't even talk to the Army office?
No, never made it to the Army office.
Okay, so you went down grandfather's path and not dad's path.
Yeah,
huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's fine. Every branch of the military does their part for the United States. So it's honorable whichever branch you do. Now, when you ended up taking the test and everything like that, how did you go through the process of picking your job?
So I knew I wanted to do something in intelligence. That was kind of my focus. I wanted to do something where I'd get like a clearance and be able to use that to help me if I did decide to get out. So I went down to MEPS. I did fairly well on the ASVAB, and they offered me OS, which is Operations Specialist. We do things like navigation. Depending on what ship you're on, you could do anything from firing missiles to amphib launches. My specialty, actually, I controlled aircrafts to assist in finding submarines and things along that nature. So that's what I did for my first 5 years in the Navy.
Okay. And if you could give us a little bit about your Navy story, how you started in the Navy and where you're at now, and where you're planning on going with your career.
Okay. So I joined in 2012. I had just turned 21 years old. I obviously went to boot camp in Great Lakes, Illinois, just about half hour north of Chicago. I went in the coldest months you could be there. It was anywhere from -5 to 2 degrees every day.
It builds character.
Yeah, right.
Oh my goodness.
Did my training there for boot camp. Then I actually went right across the street. There's another base up there besides the boot camp base. Then you have like a training command, and that's where I learned how to become an OS. I then was stationed on the USS New York, actually, which is it's a ship that they built the hull out of the steel from the World Trade Centers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Really awesome experience because, I was in 4th grade when 9/11 happened.
Mm-hmm.
When it happened, I knew what had happened, but I don't think at, 9 years old you really understand, like, the magnitude of it.
Exactly.
So I always just grew up kind of knowing what 9/11 was, but really never having any, like, big attachment to it. Yeah. But once I was, like, on that ship, you kind of see, like, you'd meet people that were involved in 9/11, and we always came up here for 9/11. Like the ship would come up, and we'd get to meet like firefighters that were in 9/11 and stuff like that.
Now, do they still come up today?
Yes, the New York comes up, I would say, at least twice a year, depending on their deployment schedule. Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah. So what else about your military history or military?
So I got to the ship. I was stationed in Virginia for 9 months, mm-hmm. and then we shifted home ports where we moved to Mayport, Florida, which is in Jacksonville. Lived there that's where I lived pretty much most of my career. I did 2 deployments. I did my first deployment, which was only 3.5 months. Mm-hmm. It was just a surge deployment. We did a mission with a couple SEAL teams. Brought them over. They had to do something, pick someone up, and then we brought them back for trial. And then my second deployment was 7.5 months. Went to, 13 countries in 7 months. Yeah, I loved it. It was awesome.
So you get to travel a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great. Made a lot of good friends. Still really close with a lot of the guys from the boat, but still keep in touch. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And where are you planning on going with your military career?
So I actually am looking to go into Nassau-Suffolk County Police Department on Long Island. That's what I'm trying to do. And then I also, I'm finishing up my degree now while I'm in. I want to eventually get into the FBI. That's the goal.
And how long have you served?
I'm 7 years next month.
Okay. And are you planning on getting out or staying in?
I plan on getting out at my 8-year mark because I initially just wanted to do my first 4 years. Mm-hmm. Then I extended for a 5th year, and then I tried to extend for another year, and then my chief at the time, she was like, listen, she's like, you're going to just keep extending and extending. She's like, just sign another contract, do a couple more years. So that's when I finally decided, I was like, you're right. I did 3 more years, and that's when I moved up here to New York to do what I do now, which is recruiting.
Okay. Nice. So you're using the Army or the Navy as a stepping stone.
Yeah, absolutely.
To where you can now get into the which police department are you looking at?
Nassau-Suffolk County on they're both police departments on Long Island.
Yep. So you're looking at going there, and then eventually once you finish your degree and get some law enforcement background, you're looking towards going to the FBI.
FBI, yeah.
Nice. And what's your goal on the timeline for the FBI?
So I'm 27 right now. I would like to be in the FBI before I'm 35.
And do they have an age limit?
They do, but I will be close to me.
Borderline.
I'll be right there.
Okay, good. Well, at least you know what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
All right. So when you ended up joining the Navy, all right, you went out on the ship. Now, we talked a little bit about before the show as a rescue swimmer. Mm-hmm. What was that like?
It's an experience. Like I said, I was only the backup guy, so I got to go out on so basically the way it works, you're on this massive warship, and then you have little ships that just they drop off the side, and they'll put they have a small boat crew, and then you'd have the 2 swimmers on it. Mm-hmm. You'd go out into some rough waters. It's definitely adrenaline pumping, excitement, but it was just, I wanted to be able to have the ability to if I needed to save someone's life. So that's why I went into the training for it and did things like that.
Nice. It must have been demanding to pass.
Yes, absolutely.
And with you, doing that, we also talked a little bit about the show with your recruiting background that you just ended up winning an award.
Yes, I did.
And what award was that?
Rookie Recruiter of the Year. So I was the best new recruiter for this district.
Nice. And what does this district contain? Like, what areas does this district contain?
All of Long Island, all of New York metro area, and then like all of northern Jersey.
Nice. Now, that's a big feat. That's a big feat. How many recruiters approximately do they have within that?
We have our command is like 350 people.
Okay.
So I would say recruiters, it's probably about 275.
Okay. And then you got to look at probably about 100 of those are new.
Yep.
So that's a huge feat. That's awesome.
It was a pretty big deal. I didn't know it was coming. I kind of was just doing my job, checking away, and then all of a sudden the award popped up. I was like, oh, wow, look at that. That's
what you got to look at. Don't look at the awards. Look at, treating people the right way.
Exactly, right.
So talking about treating people the right way, when you go to visit these high schools or when you approach people in the streets of the community, how do you approach them? How do you come at them with, wanting to talk to them about the Navy?
I think it's easy for me because I'm relatable. I grew up I grew up in New York. A lot of recruiters are people that kind of wanted to come to New York for the experience. I wanted to come back to New York because I wanted to be able to, show kids that I went to Catholic high school.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about the military until I graduated and finally looked into it for myself. And a lot of it's that middle class where you can talk to them about the military and they might have an idea. But, you find lower class kids that don't really know much about it, and then upper class kids don't know much about it for two kind of different reasons,
Yeah.
And it's easy to talk to New Yorkers. If you're from New York, I feel like I work with people from down south and they're like, wow, people up here are just so fast paced and they don't you know what I mean? I feel like they don't really want to talk to you. It's not they don't want to talk to you. It's just I feel like every New Yorker's on a schedule. We have
Agreed. Agreed. I remember when I recruited in, Brooklyn, we would always hang out down in the subways.
Right.
And all I would do is have a handful of cards and keep handing them out. Have you ever thought about it? Have you ever thought about it? Have you ever thought about it? And that one person that says, yeah, those were the people you grabbed. So you probably handed out 100 cards, but only talked to maybe 3 or 4 people.
Exactly.
And it's they're on a schedule. They're that fast paced. This is that fast paced area.
Absolutely.
Where everybody has somewhere to go.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So what benefits can they look at when they join the Navy? What sticks out from other branches?
So I can't really say anything sticks out from the Navy over the others besides, the travel I feel for me was incredible.
That's a huge benefit.
Yeah. Everywhere I've been to, I loved it. I pulled into Palma, Spain, Marseille, France, Dubai. I've done things in places that I know my friends that are not in the Navy will never even see.
Exactly.
It was incredible. And over there, you're out to sea for a couple of weeks, and then you pull in for those few days, and you can live like a king for those few days.
Yeah.
And then you go back underway, and you have memories that you'll never forget. It's really quite the experience.
Nice.
Yeah.
So while I know travel's the biggest thing. Now, while you've been in the Navy, what has been your best experience in the Navy?
Best experience in the Navy?
Your favorite?
That's a tough one. I would have to say pulling into Dubai was definitely probably the coolest thing. I went to the world's, I thought it was the biggest mall, but apparently it's the second biggest mall in Dubai.
Oh, wow.
That has a indoor ski resort. So I was skiing indoors in Dubai. That was really cool. Me and 2 of my friends, we chipped in a bunch of money we'd made on deployment and got a really nice hotel room. And like I said, we lived like kings in Dubai. We had our private beach cabana. It was really quite the experience. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot
see
of fun.
That experience. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. Now with the best, of course, comes worst.
The worst.
Yes. What was your worst experience in the Navy?
Worst experience in the Navy? I think it's just the cycle of, so everybody would think it would be like being underway, being away from family, but you get so close with the people you work with. So it's almost like, I mean, yeah, you miss your family back home, but you're such a close-knit group. I think the worst is when the ship's in the yards and you just got to show up every day and you know you're not going anywhere. You're just going to be doing maintenance or, scratching paint or something like that. Like that's when it's rough, when you're just doing the same thing every day and it's very repetitive. But being out at sea, like that's when I think it's the most fun.
Yeah, I think that's what I miss the most being out of the Army is the camaraderie that you have with your brothers in arms.
Absolutely.
And it's something that's hard to give up, but at one point in your life you have to move on.
Right.
Now with, your plans on coming out of the Navy, going into the police department up in Long Island and doing all that. I know when people see this show, they're going to say, if he enjoys the Navy so much, why isn't he staying in? Why isn't he doing that? So what's driving you from actually departing from the Navy to go work in the police department? Why not finish out your 20 for your pension?
So I do plan on staying in the reserves. I'm not going to get out of the Navy completely.
Okay.
Because I do want to keep my benefits and finish out whatever I can. But honestly, I was always I was always on the fence about doing my 20 or getting out. But my sister just recently had her first baby.
Nice.
And that's when I finally decided to take the orders to New York. And now it's kind of just, I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
And in the Navy, it's great. I love traveling. I loved it. But after I think 8 years, I'll be ready to kind of settle down in my own place and be able to spend more time with my family and stuff like that.
Now, will you be able to do deployments while you're in the reserves? Sign up for them.
That's
and
the
go
best
out?
part. Yeah. So a lot of the police departments here in New York, they are very open to military reserves. So they understand if you decide to go active and do a deployment, you can do that. So that's actually an option for us. Yeah.
Nice. Now, when these young men and women come up and talk to you, and you have to sit down and talk to them about what to expect with the Navy, how do you lay that out on the table for them?
I mean, I don't like trying to tell a guy that the Navy is all sunshine and rainbows, because it's not. Every job you have, it's going to have good days and bad days. But I just think the biggest thing that I think is misunderstood for young kids is they think it's either your education or the military, and it's not at all.
No.
I'm finishing up my degree now, and I'm active duty in the military, and I've gotten way more college experience now being in than I ever did before I joined. So that's my biggest thing, is just expressing that your education still can come first just because you're active duty in the military.
Exactly. And what other benefits could they expect out of the Navy?
I mean, travel, education. I think the structure of it, and because I feel like in the civilian sector, there's jobs where a pretty smile and a good laugh can kind of move you along. But in the military, it's hard work's going to win over a smile and a joke every time. I've noticed that when I first got to my ship, I was one of those guys, grinded it out, ranked up fast, and everyone was like, how'd you do it? I was like, I came to work. I wasn't here to make jokes and play around. I got my work done. And at the end of my work, I always started on something else. I always made sure I was progressing. Yeah. And that's one thing that you can always know in the military. It's not a who likes you the most type thing,
No, and that's always good.
Yeah.
You need that structure. You
Absolutely.
need that discipline. You need all of that. Now, I know that you work in the Navy office here on Staten Island.
Correct.
How many people are in your office?
Right now, it's 2 recruiters, and then we have our LPO, so 3 of us total.
Okay, and what's an LPO?
Leading petty officer. He's overall in charge of the 2 recruiters.
Okay, and how is it working for him?
It's good, actually. I mean, I've never I was the LPO on my ship, so
Okay.
and that wasn't right away. But after my first 9 months on board, I'd put on E5, so I was an E5 for most of my time on my ship, and that's when I kind of got into a leadership position. So I was always, I always obviously had someone to answer to, but for the most part, I was in a leadership position. So now coming here, it's kind of starting from the bottom, kind of get used to recruiting. But working for him's honestly really easy. He's been in recruiting for, he's a career recruiter, so he's been in recruiting for upwards of 12 years, and he loves what he does, and he really helps us kind of walk us along and make sure the job's as easy as it can be.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. We need leaders like that.
Absolutely.
Now, I know he's not here, so I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
What separates your guys' recruiting office from every other Navy recruiting office out here?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I would say, honestly, so I think we have a lot of fun with our guys. We have 22 guys in depth, which are 22 guys that have already contracted and are ready to ship to boot camp. And once a week we do workouts, which if it's a day we don't feel like doing a workout, we'll just go down to a park and like play football or do something. We're always active with our guys. We always make sure they're having fun, like, because you're about to join the military. Like I said, every day is not going to be sunshine and rainbow. So enjoy it now. Like, I know before I joined, I wasn't really doing anything. I was kind of just waiting to leave. I just hung out. I just hung out home and waited to leave. And then I left, and I was like, wow, I really should have kind of enjoyed my last couple months before I got out of here. So we try to make it as fun as we can. And honestly, like, we always tell them, like, hey, bring friends, like, bring family. We always do, like, lunches and stuff like that for everybody. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, so you guys stay involved with them.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, I know that you just won Rookie Recruiter of the Year. All right. That says a lot.
Yeah.
But what separates you from every other recruiter here? Why should somebody's mother or father, why should a parent send their child to come speak with you compared to any other recruiter?
I think it's because I'm honest. There's no reason for me to throw any smoke or mirrors in front of you like it. Because in the end, if I hook you and I tell you something that may not be true, and then you go to boot camp, you're going to come back to Staten Island, and I'm still going to be here.
Yeah.
And all your friends and family are still going to be here. So, like, I don't need to tell you anything that's not true. I'm going to sit you down. I'm going to be blunt and honest with you and your family, and let them know, like, hey, this is how this is going to go. It's either you take it or you don't, but in the end, the benefits are all there.
You tell them the good, the bad, the ugly.
Exactly.
Okay. So with that, I know every recruiter would tell me the same thing. They would say, I'd tell them this, but what separates you from everybody else?
Maybe my sense of humor, I guess. I don't know. It kind of helps in the office.
That could be a good one.
That might be it.
Yeah. What, I know a lot, when I sat down with recruiters, because my daughter joined the military.
Okay, awesome.
And I actually had issues with the person she joined under.
Okay.
So when I came back from Iraq, I actually went into the office, put all rank aside, and I let somebody who outranked me have it.
Right.
Come to find out, he wasn't fully in charge of that office.
Right.
But he sat there and told me, he was filling in for the person in charge, and he told me, you are absolutely right. I agree with everything you were saying, and from here on out, I will handle your daughter's process personally. Somebody who went above and beyond.
So what I've noticed is a lot of recruiters, it's like once they contract a kid, it's kind of like, all right, well, he's contracted, so he's going to leave soon. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. One thing I pride myself on is I don't have any attrites since I've been here.
And what's that?
So that's if someone joins contracts and then decides that they don't want to leave for boot camp, and then they pull back before they ship. Okay. That would be like a lost contract. I don't have any of those, and it's because I'm so close with all the kids I put in. Because I make sure, like, yes, I just had you sign a contract, but now you're in our debt program, so you're in our delayed entry program, right? So, like, I'm your mentor. So, like, as that, like, I should talk to you almost every day. just to see what's going on. How are your grades in school? What's going on in your personal life? Things like that. A lot of recruiters, I feel like they focus too much on numbers and trying to make sure that they get that next contract, and then they kind of leave their contracts that they've already written down by the wayside.
Nice. So within the year and a half you've been with the Navy recruiting branch, approximately how many future sailors have you enlisted?
I've written 30 contracts since I've been here.
Wow.
Approximately.
And
give or take.
And all 30 of them have shipped off to boot camp?
20 plus of them have shipped. I have a couple left that are still waiting to go.
Yeah. That's a good feat.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an exciting feat to have.
I pride myself more on that than I do on how many people I've put in the Navy.
I agree. And if you were to, with you winning the Rookie of the Year, I mean, it says everything right there, you know. Keeping the numbers to ship, it's less work.
Exactly.
I agree with that. So if somebody came up to you and a young man came up to you and said, I want to join the military, what would you tell them?
I'd ask them why they want to join the military and what benefit do they want out of it.
That's a good answer. That's good. Where would you go from there?
So if they told me they wanted to join the military, I would probably tell them that it's not something that you should just do. I feel like a lot of kids think the military is a last resort. Don't think of it as a last resort. If this is something you're really ready to do, then go in with 100%. Don't just dip your toe in the idea of thinking that you can maybe join the military. You got to be 100% ready to do it. And when you are, that's when you know you can walk into an office and kind of take care of what you need to take care of.
I like that. That's a good answer. That's exactly what I usually tell them too, and the thing that you have to look at is I will even tell them, talk to the Navy, talk to the Marines, talk to the Air Force, talk to every branch, because the thing is education's free.
Exactly. Educate
yourself and find out what branch best fits you and your personality, so fully 100% what you want to do.
Right.
I would tell them, before you sit down and talk to me, let's set you up an appointment with the Air Force. They were always the hardest one to get a hold of too, with the Navy and with the Marines. Yeah. And let's find out what best suits you. My boss never liked that, but I wasn't there to do what was best for my office. I wasn't there to do what was best for the Army. I was there to do what was best for the person sitting in front of me, because I look at ourselves as career counselors.
Exactly.
We're basically trying to shape out your future, your career, to see where you want to go. What's going to best fit you. I don't want you to think you want to join the Army, you join the Army and you fail. I want to do what's best for you.
Exactly.
And that's what's made me successful while I was in recruiting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And do you see your other fellow recruiters taking the same path that you do?
Absolutely. So I'm the senior recruiter in the office. So it's actually awesome. She's fairly new, but it's nice to kind of show her the ropes and let her know, because all new recruiters have is that small schooling they send you to before you come out here and actually have to do it.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, it all, I remember the first day I met her, she was like, well, it all seems kind of easy. Up at school, I was like, it's not that easy.
No.
I was like, it's like I said, it's not everybody's going to be as nice as these teachers are at the schoolhouse. Not everybody's going to tell you yes. But you also don't have to sit there and always just talk about joining the military. Just sit down, get to know someone, give them 10 minutes of your time just to find out who that person is.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Yep. But on that note, I would really like to thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
And, I would love to have you guys, more recruiters like yourself, maybe some future soldiers, come back on the show.
Absolutely.
And talk about why they're doing what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, make sure you thank a veteran.